I asked my publishers why should we go in a big bus. It's strange because I'm a quiet guy in a small town in Ireland, and to arrive suddenly in New York with a big rock star bus with pictures from the book. And it was a big bus with just me. Like the bus was 30 foot long and there was 5 beds and just me, and I don't sleep on the bus. So it was very strange. But I enjoyed this because it was like an advertisement driving around the country. So everywhere we go, when we stop the bus, just to get a coffee or something, people come to take photos with the bus, and when we come back to the bus, there could be 50 kids around. So it was strange, but I had a good time, and we went to theaters all over America, and I would do my show, and then we'd get back on the bus like rock stars. And the driver of the bus, he said that before we got the bus, it was a rock band. And he said it was crazy. And he said my tour was the best tour of his life because we were in bed by 9:30 every night. And I was having tea. But before me it was drink and beer and parties all night. So he was very happy. The tour was called Fairies, Fiends and Flatulence. I think the Fairies and Fiends, it's obvious because that's my books. And also Flatulence, there is one character in the book who has a problem, shall we say. But in the show then, I think some boys come and they expect flatulence in the show. So they expect me to produce flatulence. So I must say at the beginning, I'm sorry, there will be no flatulence unless we have a volunteer who can come now. And very often the hands will go and boys will say, me. I drink Pepsi, me. So, but we had to ban flatulence. It's not allowed in theatres in case there's a match, and then trouble. Well, I think it's very important for children or for young people when they're reading a book to realize that if someone does something that's not good, that there's a consequence for this. So I have to show what happens when if Artemis does something wrong, then somebody else will suffer, maybe his family or his friends. And also to show that it's a very good message, I think, that a child can evolve and can learn and not just stay bad. But the problem with this then is you lose your main character. So your main character, the anti-hero, slowly becomes nicer and nicer and nicer. So I have to think of ways for him to go back to being an anti-hero. And that is the big challenge with each book. So in one book, for example, he loses his memory. So he wakes up and he is the same as he was 2 years ago. So he's bad again. In another book, he goes back in time and fights himself when he was bad. So it takes, you have to find tricks to do that. And when I have no more tricks, then it's finished. When he becomes a nice guy, just a moral person who helps other people, then he is finished, and I will move on. It is difficult sometimes to write about a genius when you are not a genius yourself. So something that Artemis says in 2 seconds, it would take me maybe a week to think about this. And so there's not, maybe Artemis is in a way, he behaves like I wish sometimes I could behave. He's very clever. He dresses really well. He likes opera and classical music. So sometimes I'm the opposite of that. I like heavy metal. I have a suit today, but I don't dress like this. This is very abnormal. I think my wife would not recognize me now. Only for tours. So I'm a scruffy person. I'm not organized. So in many ways, Artemis is how I feel I should be, except for the criminal activities, which is bad. Apparently, that's bad. My children are not interested in reading my work. They say, "No, thank you, Papa. We are busy reading Phil Pullman. So go away." But I don't. I'm very private about my work. I don't discuss with anybody. The main challenge here, I think, is to make the fairy world coexist with the human world, believably. Generally, in magical books, it's another world. It's not our world, and so you can go to Narnia, and that's fine because it's somewhere else. But in these books, it's Earth now, and most of the adventure takes place in the human world. So you have to make these characters believable in France, for example, or in Ireland, or wherever they travel, and that's what I find difficult. So I treat the fairies really as little humans. They have problems, they have phobias, they have bad days, and they're not like some fairies that are very wise and mystical and just they grant you wishes and they have a magic sword. It's not like that. These are guys who are real people with real personalities, and that helps the kids believe them, because if they believe in the people, then they believe in what the cars they drive and the computers they have, and they accept it. It's easier for them to accept. Comedy is a big part of my work, and in every book, and it's something sometimes I try not to do, but it's like I'm addicted to comedy. If I see a situation where a joke will work, I must use that joke. So I'm accepting it now, and also, again, it's for me when I was working as a teacher, I realized that comedy is a great way to get boys reading, because they love to laugh and they like jokes, and so I would use it a lot in teaching to make the boys listen, and it works well also in literature because they like to read, and they will read a book just for the jokes, so it's a good tool to have. I have one coming in summer. After that, I don't know. Maybe in a few years' time I will do some more, but I need a break. So maybe I will send him to boarding school in Switzerland or something, or prison, so I can have a break. And maybe it's time to do another series. But no more anti-heroes. I think I've done that now. But none of my characters, I don't really tend to go for the straightforward hero. And they always have some problems. So they're not just super guys with lovely hair and muscles. I like to go for the intellectual heroes. So they brain rather than muscles. They're working on the script now for the first movie. I think it's difficult for them because for Hollywood to write a movie about someone who's not a hero for kids, that's a problem, I think, and that their brains are finding it difficult to deal with this. And I'm saying, look at Huckleberry Finn. There's an anti-hero, and that children love, but they're just finding it hard to understand why do kids like this guy? We can't have a movie about a guy who's bad. It's impossible for us. So I think there have been about 7 scripts so far, and it's not ready yet. It was a very difficult decision, and I still think about it all the time. Should I have done this? It's not a career decision, because I felt that I could my career was strong enough now that I could take it on without being damaged, and I could go back to Artemis. But why do it? I think it was a combination of my ego, because I was asked to do it, and a small part of me said, yes, you could do a good job. But also I think it was a personal thing, because I'm such a huge fan of H2G2, and I was asked by the family. So it became very personal. But I didn't realize how strong the reaction would be and how much people love this book. But it's okay now. For 6 months before the book came out, there was a lot of negative stuff on the internet, but everybody's happy now. Well, most people are happy now. Oh, I was a huge fan as a teenager. I had read all the books several times, and I read them again before I decided, just to see if they were as good as I remembered, and also to see if I felt there was a need for an ending. And I found that I thought I could finish it nicely in a way that was sympathetic to the originals. It's a little bit older, I think. Not so much. I think most people read Hitchhiker when they're about 17. So I would imagine this to be aimed at the late teens, or young adults, so 17 to 25. Although, when I've done my readings around the States, most people who come are my age, mid-40s, who read the books when they came out first, when they were 15 or 16. So that seems to be the big audience. Well, usually in my books, I don't really hold back on the vocabulary when I'm writing. And then sometimes my editor will say, oh, that's too much, we need to change this word. And so I approached it the same way. I thought I will just write the book, and if I go too simple, or if I'm writing and it seems like a children's book, my editor will tell me. But that didn't happen. Everybody was very happy, and also many of the words I make them up. That's the fantastic thing about this book. I invented 120 words, which is a nightmare for translators. I feel sorry for the guy who has to translate this into French. And he's going, what's this word? People, the emails I get, is this a real word? Is this a real word? I don't know this word. What is this word? I hate you. Goodbye. So it's funny. I enjoy it, but I don't think the translator enjoyed it. It was difficult, but this is something that I have always been good at, even as a child, when I was studying in school. If I was studying Shakespeare or something, and we needed to write an essay, I always tried to write in the style, just for an exercise, for fun, of the writer. So I've kind of always had that little talent. But I didn't want to copy Douglas because he's too much of a genius, and you can't win that battle for an entire book. So what I decided to do was to start out in the style of Douglas, but then gradually change over to the style. And I changed his characters as well. Arthur Dent, for example, in Douglas's books, Arthur Dent basically complains all the time. That's his character. He complains and he wants tea. And I decided that he needed something more now, and so he has a daughter, and this makes it very easy for him to have a focus outside himself and his own needs. So he focused on saving his daughter, and in that way, and it's very natural because I think that's what Douglas would have done. And then this way he becomes more sympathetic because he's not always worrying about himself. I think originally when Arthur Dent nobody died, nobody cared because they were so tired of him. Where's my tea? For 5 books. They were happy he's dead, which is not good. So I wanted to make him a little more sympathetic. Well, I think the easiest one to fit into modern culture was Zaphod Beeblebrox, because he is very like a reality show contestant who wants to be famous, and that is their whole raison d'etre, is to be famous, and it doesn't matter that behind the fame there's nothing. I think 20 years ago, if you wanted to be famous, you needed to sing or act or something. But now, all you need to do is get a camera and you can be famous. And Zaphod is like this. He just wants to be famous. So he fits in very well. He doesn't seem dated. He seems very current and relevant to me. So I really had a lot of fun with him. I don't know. I think it has the potential. I think a very good way to continue this series would be every 2 years you ask somebody new. and someone who maybe is very unexpected to write one, and then it becomes like an homage to the original series, and people realize how beloved it is. So I would not do any more, but I think they should ask someone new, because it has so many fans that it would be very easy to find a writer to do it, I think. I have one guitar. I'm learning. I can play 2 chords, but my brother is a guitar player. He's teaching me at the moment. He is not very happy with his students because I'm not very good. I have no coordination, so I can do one hand at a time, but not the 2 together, which is a problem apparently. That and illegal activities are problems. But my goal is to play. But there's a bet in our family that all the brothers-in-law have to play one song. So I'm learning to play a song now. I thought, nice simple song like Bohemian Rhapsody. That's easy. How hard can that be? It's an easy one. So, but I'm enjoying it, taking some time to learn an instrument.